Hey everyone, I'm Jenny, head of marketing at Signals, and I'm really excited about this conversation. Today I'm joined by Nancy A. Shenker, a digital pioneer, writer, and marketing powerhouse who has been ahead of the curve for decades. She launched, is this right? MasterCard's first website, which is
Yep,
really
that is true.
awesome. And she's been the voice for smart tech, reinvention, and creative disruption. So we're going to talk about how we as marketers, communicators, and builders can better integrate AI, not just as a tool, but as a collaborator. We'll explore what it means to stay relevant, rethink workflows, and make space for experimentation. So I'm excited to jump in. So Nancy, where did AI first catch your attention and what got you excited about its potential?
Well, I've been a tech nerd since I was a little kid. My father was one of the pioneers of fetal ultrasound. So,
Wow.
using technology to diagnose diseases in utero. So, I kind of grew up with tech all around me. My brother was a computer engineer, my other brother is a researcher. And so, back in the mid 2000s, people really started having conversations about AI and robotics. And for me, it was just a natural evolution of a technology timeline that had been going on since I was a kid, going from a manual typewriter to an IBM Selectric to a PC, from a BlackBerry to a Palm Pilot to a BlackBerry to a smartphone. So, yeah, it's just like watching my kids and my grandkids grow up. Technology is growing up too. And
Right.
so AI is in its infancy, but it's growing up so quickly that staying on top of it is hard, but clearly not impossible if you're curious and you read. And if you look away for even a minute, you're going to miss something huge that is going to transform the way we work and the way we live.
Yeah, I mean, I love the backstory. I love that it's a family thing. You guys are all kind of a little bit in technology. And I also love the analogy of I think it's easy just to the hype and how fast things are moving for people to forget that it's still in its infancy. Have you ever seen a cycle move this fast?
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite this fast. I
Mhm.
think that because that we're living in this crazy digital dystopia, that um, putting the news out there is happening faster. But I saw things move really, really quickly, even when I was working in the early days of tech. But
Mhm.
the proliferation, and because there are so many technology based companies now, there
Yeah.
are so many more options than there used to be. There
Right.
used to be just a few big companies controlling the tech world. And now, because the tech world has been growing up along with the entrepreneurial world, people could start businesses out of their garages, literally.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, that was not possible.
I mean, maybe I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but with automation, specifically around AI, there's something for some whatever reason it feels very new and exciting and feels very disruptive. Um, but the way I like to think about it is this automation, it's not new. We've been automating all these things throughout history. My favorite one is kind of thinking about bowling alleys and how
Yep,
there used to be pin boys who would like line up the pins, and now aren't you so glad you don't have to wait for someone to like run out there and reset your pins? And
exactly,
so that's how I
exactly.
like to think about AI. It's adding to what you can do and the fun that you can have. Like, yes, it's sad that no more pin boys, but I think there's something still new and exciting.
Oh,
And
for sure, for sure. And just even look at, us as women,
right,
when my grandmother was raising kids, she had to use, cloth diapers and the safety
right,
pins. And, we have to look at all of those things in our lives. And
mhm,
that's the big advantage of being almost 70 years old is I have seen all of this, not all of it. I mean, by the time my kids were born, we had disposable diapers, but
mhm,
I've seen so many things change.
right,
One of my favorite movies of all times is Hidden Figures, where the calculators, the women who used to solve math problems, the one woman realized that she needed to know COBOL to keep her job. So she got the skills that she needed to remain not to become obsolete.
Yeah.
And I view AI very much the same way, that whether or not we as humans become obsolete is within our own control. And you could either be, as I like to say, the robot overlord, writing prompts and helping to evolve the technology, or you could just get run over by it and be unemployed.
Right. I mean, some might even say you're a true AI OG. I know you've used this phrase before, AI for OGs. So, what does it really mean to you? You kind of touch on it a little bit. And what are people getting wrong about it?
I think it's so scary to people that they wind up in this state of paralysis, or they think it's so confusing that they'll never be able to master it. But honestly, I find AI infinitely easier to master than learning how to code. I never really wanted to learn how to code. So now that we're entering a no code era, I could write a prompt, which is in my first language, namely English. I was an English and psychology major, and I could prompt the AI to create an image for me or to do research on a particularly esoteric topic. And it's done so much faster than it would be done if it was being done by a human. That doesn't mean there is no role for humans. We still need to fact check. And I would argue that OGs are in many ways, which stands for original gangster. Somebody asked me that the other day, which is, the originators of rap, which has now become a musical style of the young. But there were people rapping 20, 30 years before it became a style. So I really think that growing up with the Dewey Decimal System and having to do research on microfiche, for me, writing a prompt is one of the easiest things that I could possibly do because it's in my first language, which
Yeah.
is English. And I could just say, make me a picture of I was showing my son-in-law the other day how I use AI for graphic design. And he's a submarine engineer. So I said, make me a picture of a gorilla wearing a blue t-shirt designing a small submarine. And in 30 seconds, the picture popped up on the screen. So I have no artistic talent. So if I drew it, you would never know what it was. But I just look at all of my AI as being my intelligent robotic assistants that make my life easier.
Right. I mean, you touched on it a little bit. What I'm seeing with prompt engineers, and uh, maybe this will provide some hope for those who are still feeling a little uneasy about it. The best prompt engineers I see are people who are successful communicators with other humans.
Exactly, exactly. In fact, they should take the word engineer out of the title.
Right.
It should just be like prompt stars.
Yeah.
Like I will write, I can write the best prompts, but I will never be an engineer.
Right. Yeah. And maybe it's just to intimidate
I know.
others.
Well, that
Maybe
is the
for you.
vernacular. I mean, that is what they call the job, but
Right.
it really shouldn't be called that because I think it's a turnoff. And you and I were talking earlier. I'm very passionate about women, especially building careers in STEM and in AI, because we do look at things differently.
Hmm.
And just because it's AI and because it has the word engineering in it and it's considered tech
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it should be scary or off-putting. We
Right.
should be looking at the benefits as opposed to the challenges.
Yeah, I hear you. And you kind of touched on it with the hidden figures. So we're kind of touching on this AI fluency isn't about age or background, it's about mindset and curiosity. So, how do people stay curious to get ahead when it comes to AI?
Well, first of all, they should buy my book, which is, although it was written in 2017, I would say 95% of my predictions have come true. And the last chapter is kind of a fun chapter because it's all the places where AI and robotics were mentioned dating back to like the 1950s.
Hmm.
So, like anything else, if you are really, really committed to learning something new, just take the time, take 15 minutes out of every day, the same kind of routine that you would use to like moisturize your face or floss your teeth and say, I'm going to spend 15 minutes every day getting smarter about AI. And I'm
Right.
going to figure out something that I like to do, which in my case is researching, writing, and graphic design. And I will find those AI applications that I could use to enhance what I do for a living or
Right.
what my passion is. Or let's say you're not working. Let's say you're a retiree and you want to stay current. Just go into Google and ask a question, and you'll see that in addition to it, you don't no longer get the search bar, you get a curated summary of everything on that topic.
Right.
Which in the old days, yeah, we would go to the library and open up the card catalog and try to find that stuff. And now it's at our fingertips in 15 seconds. So rather than moaning and groaning about all the lost jobs, say, how can I be the last man or the last woman standing when companies are becoming smaller because there aren't as many humans needed?
Right. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to jump off and missed it. I skimmed over it. You mentioned how important it is for women to be involved in the prompting. Why do you think more women, especially those outside of technical roles, need to be in this space right now? What's the advantage?
Well, I think it's already been proven that diverse work teams generate more revenue. So, very simply, it's having differences of opinion and differences of style that
Mhm.
make better business results. Also, because so much of the AI that's being developed is serving women, we still control a huge percentage of the spending decisions in
Mm,
the world today. We are actually going to live longer than men. Of the centenarians, 87% are going to be women. So we're going to be living a long time. And having AI that really serves us well as humans is vitally important. And the same way, I wouldn't necessarily want just men developing sanitary products
yeah.
for, I don't want a team of all men deciding how things are going to be designed and written. I think you need to have a balance of the genders.
Yeah. No,
Plus, it's fun. Plus, that's where the money is. If you look at the jobs and the
right.
skills that are going to be required in the future, women will continue to be at an economic disadvantage
Mhm.
if we go into typical girly professions. And this is one of the best paying sectors right now.
Yeah. I mean, I love your advice. It's as easy as just starting with 15 minutes a day or identifying an area where maybe you're weak or it's not your strength and then using AI to strengthen that area so you become the powerhouse. Um,
Oh, for sure. And to just think about all the things that you have mastered in your lifetime. You're not born knowing how to walk or ride a two-wheel bicycle or diaper and feed a baby. You learn that stuff as you go.
right.
So technologies just has this very um, undeserved image of being complicated and off-putting. But AI is the great unifier. I mean, if you look at a company like Canva,
Right.
the highest valued woman-founded business, valued at $3 billion. If I had gone to art school, I'd be starving. Whereas now that I could use AI to design, I'm saving hours and thousands because I could just do it myself.
Yeah, no, I love the phrase AI is a unifier. I think that's such a positive perspective rather than like reverting back. I think it's so easy. And I think about how do you bridge the gap between curiosity and then having the confidence to actually start executing it.
Yeah, my mother sent me a postcard years ago that I still have on display on my desk. And it says, a cowgirl gets up early in the morning, decides what she wants to do, and does it.
Yeah.
And that is the mantra that I've lived by every day of my 69 years on earth.
Yeah. No, I love that. So Nancy, being the OG that you are, you provided us some slides. I'd love to add those in now and kind of just work through them a little bit. And just around what organizations are seeing around AI. So let's dive into it.
Absolutely. And this is an updated version of a chart that's from my book, Embrace the Machine, that I wrote back in 2017. And I did update it based on where we are today. So, right now, we still have multiple people in each marketing role. The CEO is responsible for strategy and brand oversight. And that some of that will not change going into the future. But CEOs, CMOs are starting to look at what functions will not be necessary or what functions are redundant in
Mhm.
this AI world. And then in the future, there probably will be 25 to 30% fewer humans working on teams. And the CEO will still have a vision for where the organization is going. But the data that they're operating from will be so much easier to access. So you'll be able to walk into your office and get a report to say sales were down 25% yesterday. So as a result, we adjusted our ad spend.
Yeah.
And here's where we are today. So in the past, you had to have a team of analysts doing that work. It will all be not only automatically generated, but also the AI will make recommendations. I can almost imagine a world where Elon Musk says, all right, Tesla sales are down 25%. Here are 5 actions that we're already taking to boost sales. And then the next slide is about the actual functions within a marketing department, because right now it's very siloed. You have content people, you have digital people, and sometimes they're paid people and organic people. So they're all of these very, very specific job functions. And we're actually going back to a world that I built my marketing career in, where as a marketer, you were expected to be a true Renaissance person
Yeah.
and understand the entire marketing mix. So you will have all of these roles that are assisted by AI.
Mhm.
So even events, which is a very human activity, you'll know of the 5,000 people who downloaded the app, 9,000 connections were made. And so here's how you could boost engagement with the app. We talked about the no code world, and I think that's going to be huge. And right now, there are all of these charts out there where there are like a zillion AI alternatives. You want to create graphics. Here are 50 different apps you can use.
Yeah.
That will be consolidated going into the future. And AI will be taking the lead in terms of providing data, providing information, providing hopefully facts, but so much of the transactional work and the tactical work will be performed through AI as opposed to humans.
Right.
But humans need to get smarter because we need to really distinguish between fact and AI generated weirdness. Like I made a picture yesterday and the woman's arms were like the character in SNL where they're like little baby hands. And I'm like, all right, how do I go in and redirect the AI so that they know that the average human length of a human arm is almost down to the knees?
Mhm.
So I call it my not so bright automated intern. And through training and through learning and through iterations, the AI will begin to learn what we learn.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we will always be smarter, assuming we stay on top of it. We will always be smarter than the AI we're using. It
Right.
needs to be a combination of human intelligence, human humor, human insights. And I keep trying to get the AI to write like me, and it just hasn't gotten my puns or my snark or my nuance.
Yeah.
So I may do a first draft of something using AI just to structurally make it sound, and then I'll go in and add the snark.
Yeah. I mean, so let me make sure I'm just tracking. So creativity and strategy are not going to disappear with AI. If anything, we need to continue to stay smart, and it's the hand in hand human with AI where you find the sweet spot. My only question would be to the people who are listening to this and are like, "Oh my gosh, does this have the potential to replace me?" You kind of touched on it. You're like, before we needed a whole teams to do this data analysts to find out these numbers, and now we're getting to a place where potentially AI can just take that over and you're walking in and just getting your report. So how do you answer the people who are feeling uncertain and like AI can replace their jobs?
Well, it can, but only if you let it. I mean, I have a great
Mhm.
story, and this is going to make me sound like I grew up in Jurassic Park, that I'm a true dinosaur. But when I worked at Citibank, everybody had their own secretary, believe it or not. once you hit a certain level in corporate life, you had a secretary. That was the perk of being an executive. And then word came down that we were going to need to share our secretaries. So I'm like, okay, my secretary is now going to be working for 4 other people. I remember it like it was yesterday. I called her into my office and I said, you need to teach me how to use PowerPoint, which
Mm.
was still in its infancy. So she came in, she gave me a PowerPoint tutorial. The next time I had a senior management presentation, all of the dudes in the office were scrambling to get their decks done. And I'm like lying back, chilling out. And they're like, how did you get your deck done? I said, I just learned the technology. So again, back to like why women who have traditionally been like the cleaning ladies in corporate America, if you learn how to do it yourself, then you're going to be invaluable.
Mhm.
Um, the PS to that story, which I hate to tell because it's very telling, is when I left corporate life 22 years ago, I had written the strategic plan for the company, and the CEO and the CFO did not know how to use PowerPoint, and they were sitting and dictating to me, and I was typing. And I'm like, all right, it's time for me to start my own business because I've been working all this time and I'm still the freaking secretary,
Right.
like Peggy Olson and Mad Men. But like, feminist rant over. Um, just get over your anxiety, get over your naysaying, and
Mhm.
take action, which is true of almost everything in life. You will not become obsolete unless you allow yourself to become obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, I think even some people might feel that they need a 10-step plan before touching anything. How do you encourage to just jump in and start learning? Like, ho
Well,
you
it's
kinda
not
touched
kind of
on it
a 10
with
step
your
plan. You just say, what do I love to do?
mm,
I love to travel. So, how can AI help me pack my suitcase? So, pick something really small that you normally love to do anyway. I
mhm,
have 6 ingredients in my refrigerator and I want to cook something. How can AI come up with recipes? So think of AI as your automated butler that could help you do like everyday things just faster and better. And then once you're comfortable with it in your day to day life, then take it into your work life and say, all right, I need to make charts and graphs. So I'm going to use Canva sheets and plug in the data and let it visualize the data for me.
right,
So it's not all called AI, but like it's like, they used to say Intel inside and computer processors. AI is now inside everything.
right.
So we need to kind of demystify it and just say it's the Intel inside of automation.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately think of, like, what kids these days are saying where you're just walking around and they're like, instead of saying, "Oh, yeah, I Googled it," they go, "Oh, yeah, I ChatGPT'd it. This is what I'm gonna do." Or I've heard people be able to, like, plan their vacations and find out where's the best places to eat or cut back on finances, and so if you can use it on that scale in just your personal life, imagine what you could accomplish by identifying these super repetitive tasks that you don't even like doing in your role. If you could automate that and get more time to think and do more,
Oh, for sure. For sure.
that's the dream.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it as AI is an enabler that will enable me to do more of the human things that I love to do.
Yeah. I mean, period, in the words of Rail, our event coordinator. Um, no, I hear you, and I'm totally on board. I guess you have such a wealth of knowledge and experience. What are kind of the AI tools that you recommend to people who are looking to get started?
Well, first of all, I've always been a closet artist. I've always wanted to design, but I had no hand drawing skills or hand painting skills, as proven by the big box of attempted artwork that I have in my basement. But once Canva came into being, um, I started using it almost immediately. I love graphic design. I use Canva's AI for illustrating things that I write. I use Shutterstock's AI on occasion as well.
Mhm.
So that's one of my can't live without tools. I also I use ChatGPT and some of the other some of the other word based AI tools. to do research because I have a steady writing gig for a business publication. And if I want to find out what trends in convenience store marketing are, I get a summary of all the key articles in 2024, 2025, and then I cull through them and fact check and see which are the most relevant. So that's a personal slash business example and an all business example. And then I'm starting to use it for analytics. I just launched a new personal brand in February, and I find that the AI is giving me some really, really good insights into what's working, what's not, and how I should tweak my strategy to be more effective. So stay tuned on that one.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'm hearing a lot and just seeing a lot in the news is there seems to be some level there's so much hype, there's so much noise, and with marketing, people are always overpromising what they can do, and it feels so saturated right now. Everyone's just like, "I'm an AI tool." And how can people best filter through the noise and find what's working?
I actually wrote something a while back called artificial intelligence versus real artificial intelligence. And
Yes.
so if you're at a conference or a trade show and someone says this is AI powered, then just ask the question, well, how is it AI
Mhm.
powered? And where does it get its information from? And how much faster is it to use this tool rather than what I was using? But
Yeah.
yes, it's like non-GMO. I don't know if you remember in the food era where
Yep.
everybody was slapping non-GMO on every package of anything, and it's now considered, protein rich is the new
Mhm.
non-GMO equivalent. So yeah, we're going to go through this phase, and again, that's one advantage of having worked for many, many decades is seeing things having their moment of hype and then it just becoming mainstreamed.
Yeah, I love that we've kind of come full circle. The answer is just stay curious and know what questions to ask. I think that can be really helpful to kind of filter through all the noise.
Exactly, exactly. Because you don't even hear people talk about things like fintech anymore because everything is in financial services is technology based. There is a huge category which I'm passionate about called age tech, which
Mhm.
are apps and devices and tools that will enable us to live longer, which at the end of the day is one of my personal goals.
Yeah.
So I walk around the house talking to Alexa, even when I'm in a hotel room and there is no Alexa there. But, if I become unable to use my vision or my hands at some point, voice activated devices are going to be a critical part of my life.
Mhm.
Or if you don't have a driver's license in Arizona, you could get, Waymo rather than an Uber to pick you up. Like it's all happening around us. And I just view it as exciting as opposed to scary.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I guess as we kind of wrap up, thank you for such a real and refreshing conversation. I think you've really shown that curiosity is a lifelong skill. And I guess the hope is you don't need to have all the answers to start playing with AI to discover what's possible.
Exactly, exactly. The same way, if you were using a mop and a pail to wash your floor and somebody gave you a vacuum cleaner and said you could do it so much faster and it's less messy, wouldn't you want to try it out?
Yeah.
So just think about all the things throughout your life, whether you're 29 or 69, that have made your life easier, faster, better, and just view AI as that.
Yeah. And just to conclude, if people want to get in touch, I imagine they can reach out to you at this email.
Yes, I am a human. I am not a bot. The image on the far left is my marketing company, which, as I said, I've had for 22 years. The image in the middle is my personal brand, which just launched in February, where I talk about sex, tech, and life across the generations. And my podcast is called Age Blind because I have guests of all generations talking about fun things that will help us live longer, live better, have more fun, get smarter, which at the end of the day is really what it's all about. And I feel like I'm just getting started. I plan on being in that centenarian club, which means I have at least 3 more decades to go.
Yeah. And then you also wrote a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, and I wrote them all myself, not using ChatGPT. Although in my AI book, Embrace the Machine, there is one image that was created by AI back in 2017, and you could probably figure out what it is because we've come a long way since then. And my most recent book is called Finding Love, and it's basically how you navigate the dating apps, which also didn't exist 10, 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I have technology in most of what I do because I realize that technology has made my life better. And
Mhm.
again, whether you're 9, 19, 29, 69, it is never too late to master a new skill.
Right. It's not necessarily about being first, it's about staying open.
Absolutely. And curious is a word you used earlier, and disruptive.
Yeah.
Being the first to market with something is still something that will help you thrive. So,
Yeah. Well,
great that you're doing this summit, Jenny. I think it's really important that people wrap their heads and their arms around AI because that is how we're going to remain gainfully employed in the future, is being, as I like to say, the robot overlords.
yeah, no, I love it. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we hope everyone else enjoys the rest of the Talk AI Summit.
Thank you. Go prompt away.